Hello, this is Artemis_anime, and today I am reading Lewd Cuteness by Skylar Sky High and Terox_X. Chapter 5. Summary. Quirked animals are extremely rare. What will happen to Izuku now? Notes. This fanfiction was written as a roleplay collab between Terox_X and Skylar Sky High. Editing was done by X. We hope you'll enjoy. Izuku mewed at Shoto when they finally got home. They'd had to give so many statements. But now they were home, and Izuku was happy. He climbed out of the capture weapon and onto Shoto's shoulders. Shoto gently reached up to scratch his head. How about a treat? You did so well. Izuku blinked and leaned into the touch contentedly. He purred softly, the knowledge that he'd managed to protect his family making him happy. Shoto went into the kitchen to grab a packet of treats for Izuku. Izuku watched curiously as he stayed cuddled against Shota. Shota handed a treat to him. Izuku meowed and ate the treat happily. So tasty. Shota smiled at him and continued feeding him treats. Izuku meowed happily. After finishing the treats, Shota walked over to the living room to get some rest. Izuku stubbornly stayed on his shoulder, meowing when Shota tried to take him off. Fine, Shota relented. He gently pet his fur. Izuku purred contentedly, leaning against him. Shota grabbed the remote and turned the TV on. Might as well since he was stuck. Izuku curled up on top of him happily. Shota watched the show he put on. They sat in silence. Izuku seemed content to stay on his lap. His purred slowly as they slowly calmed down from the day's events. When the students returned 3 days later, Shota decided to bring Izuku along to help calm his students after the incidents. Izuku did an amazing job at that. He just roamed the class freely and jumped onto the students' lap when they weren't feeling too good. It helped lessen their anxiety from the USJ incident. Izuku spent a lot of time on Shota's head to calm him. It also made the class relax from the adorable yet hilarious sight, so he allowed it. Izuku yawned softly and curled up on his head for a nap. The class visibly relaxed at the adorable sight. Shota relaxed as well. Izuku was a godsend. Whenever someone seemed to get distracted by the events that had transpired at the USJ, he did something adorable or hilarious, like making Shota laugh by nuzzling him, or rolling around the classroom cutely, or messing with Bakugo's hair. The blonde didn't even try to take him out despite being annoyed. Izuku felt so happy around Shota in the class. They were all safe and so nice. He got an idea and went over to Uraka, mushing his head against her hand. She seemed surprised but happily pet him. Izuku mewed softly as he purred. He tried to get his small body to touch all 5 of Uraka's fingers. After some effort, he managed to get all 5 to touch, and he jumped up when he felt the gravity leave him. Oh no! Izuku floated around, a bit smug that he'd managed to pull it off. Oh no, please come back, Izuku! Uraka fretted anxiously. Izuku happily waved around his paws, managing to do a flip. The class stared at the floating kitten. Izuku looked really content. Sensei? Leave him. He'll call when he wants to go down. Izuku purred happily. Shota sighed. There was no point in reeling his students' attention again. Alright, take a break for now. You have 10 minutes. The students looked relieved. They started chatting quietly. Izuku stared down at the students as he floated in the air. He mewed, wanting some pets. Should I get him down? Uraka asked. Probably, Shota replied. I've got him, Uraka says, and presses her fingers together. Izuku fell, and Bakugo caught him. Why is it always me? He grumbled. Izuku mewed softly and cuddled into Bakugo contentedly. Bakugo glared down at him before he sighed and pet the kitten's soft fur. Izuku purred happily like the little lawnmower he was. Thanks, little guy, Bakugo whispered to the kitten. Izuku cuddled into him happily. After school, Shota headed towards Nezu's office with Izuku snuggled in his capture weapon. Izuku was sleeping peacefully, purring a bit. Shota gently knocked on the principal's door. Nezu answered the door with a smile. Izawa, what can I do for you? He asked cheerfully. I need your help, Shota said bluntly. Nezu nodded. He stepped inside to let him inside. Shota walked in and stood next to the desk. Nezu looked up at him. I need help protecting Izuku, Shota said truthfully. Nezu nodded. He has a quirk. Shota nodded. He can change into a panther and a lion. I have to assign his quirk to the registry, but I'm scared. Nezu hummed. I'll come with you, he replied. There haven't been any kidnappings of quirked animals for a while, though. I'm just worried, Shota admitted. Quirked animals are rare, but animals with amazing quirks such as yours and Izuku's are a target. I don't want him to get caught up in any danger like that. Izuku purred softly as he slept. We need to get him registered, Nezu said, with a worried frown. Otherwise, he'll get in trouble and taken away from you when he uses his quirk. I know, Shota said quietly. You'll make sure he won't get taken away, right? Of course, Nezu agreed. Thank you. Nezu smiled. Of course, he hummed. Izuku shifted inside the pocket. He meowed softly. Shota reached into the pocket and pulled him out. Izuku blinked and meowed softly. Here's Izuku. Shota showed the kitten to Nezu. Nezu held out a hand for Izuku to sniff. The tiny kitten sniffed him for a moment before meowing. Nezu smiled. Hey there, he greeted. Izuku meowed at him. I'll make sure you won't be harmed, Nezu explained. Izuku reached out to boop his nose. Nezu blinked in confusion. Shota bit back a smile. He likes you. Nezu gave a nod. That's good. Izuku meowed at him. Shota smiled and gently rubbed Izuku's head. Izuku meowed happily. We'll make sure you don't get hurt, Izuku, he said softly. Izuku meowed at them. It took a while to get an appointment at the quirk registry office. Shota wondered how it would go. He wasn't bringing a child, he was bringing his pet. Izuku seemed excited. He was looking around and meowing sometimes. Shota smiled fondly and pet his kitten. Izuku happily mushed his head against him. He's content, it seems, Nezu said, sitting on his shoulder inside his capture weapon. Shota nodded. He walked over to the counter to inform the worker about his appointment. Good day. Where's your child? The worker asked. Shota lifted Izuku up into the air. Meow. The worker stared at Izuku silently. Human child. For the quirk registry? No. He is a cat with a quirk, Shota explained. Meow. Izuku meowed cutely. The worker blinked. All right, they mumbled and started filling out their paperwork. Shota shifted Izuku to stare at the kitten. Behave. Meow. Yep, you're too adorable, Shota mumbled and gently pet his head. Izuku purred loudly. Shota smiled softly at the sound. At least Izuku was happy. Now they had to wait to have his quirk registered. Shota sat down in the waiting room with Izuku. Izuku happily leaned against him to purr loudly. Shota smiled softly. You're adorable, you know that? He murmured. Izuku meowed up at him. Shota gently rubbed his head. It took a while before he was called. Shota got up and carried Izuku into the examination room. The kitten shifted in his arms. You'll be okay, Shota murmured softly. Izuku meowed. Shota smiled softly and nestled him. The doctor came and stared at the kitten on the table. My kitten has a quirk, Shota explained. What kind of quirk? The doctor asked. He can turn into felines, like lions. Shota explained. I want to get him registered so he can be an official hero support animal. The doctor hummed. Can you show me? Shota looked at Izuku. Can you show him your quirk? He asked gently. Izuku meowed at him before shifting into an ocelot with a flash of green. He happily purred against him. Shota smiled and gently pet him. The doctor shared in complete shock. Izuku climbed up Shota's arms and climbed back down the other arm easily. Ocelots were great climbers. He shifted into a green cardinal. He leapt high into the air, nearly touching the ceiling and landing skillfully. Good job, Izuku, Shota said gently as the doctor scrambled to write everything down. Izuku changed back into a tiny kitten and nuzzled his stomach. Shota rubbed his head gently. Izuku pawed at him. The doctor just stared. Okay, quirk registry? Feline transformation, Shota said. The doctor nodded a bit and wrote it down. Izuku purred against him. Shota gently picked him up and held him close. He and the doctor filled in the details of Izuku's profile. Since he was an animal, it was a bit different. Izuku decided to take a nap in the meantime. By the end of the day, Izuku's quirk was registered. By then, Izuku was fast asleep in Shota's jacket pocket. They headed out of the building to grab something to eat. That went well. Nezu peeked out from Shota's capture weapon. Shota nodded in agreement. I hope that wasn't the infamous too well, he nodded. We shall see, Nezu smiled. Author's note. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave it a kudos or even a comment to show us that. I hope you have a nice day. Reader's notes. Thank you all for listening. Please go check out the authors on their archive of our own accounts. They are amazing. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time. I am so sorry for the delays in posting. Bye!